Hi. So I was brainstorming the last few weeks about how to get more people into knitting, and I was thinking of basic projects, not technical, that any beginner can do. So let's jump into that. I'm gonna try to find free patterns on Ravelry of a lot of these kind of projects that I'm mentioning, so that if you find this video and you are a beginner and you want to make something, at least there'll be some links to resources that you can go and follow along actual patterns. So the very first project I think everyone does, but it's not a bad project, it still is very, very good, is a garter stitch scarf. Reasons why it's the best first project anyone could do is that you only need to know the knit stitch. There's no increases or decreases, you just knit the entire thing. Just one long rectangle. Now you can make it a little fancier by like color blocking, or maybe making stripes. You can get creative with it too. You could add tassels to the bottom too. Like, that's a way to make it fun. Garter stitch scarf, everyone's first project usually, and it's for a reason. It's simple. It gets you to that level of start to finish completion of a project without being too difficult, too technical. There's not a lot of new skills you need to learn, but make it fun. Next, I have an actual example here. Hold on, 1 minute. Knit pillowcases. Again, goes along with the lines of you're just knitting something flat. You're just knitting two squares and seaming them together. This is a great way to try out a new technique, like a new pattern. Like if you want to get into cable knitting but you don't want to go ahead and do an entire sweater or a huge piece, you can just do the front of a pillow and do the back of it in stockinette stitch or garter stitch. You literally just have to make two squares and then seam them together and you've got a pillow. Again, make the pillow as fancy as you want to. If you're just getting started, a solid color in a garter stitch looks gorgeous, beautiful. But you can always, again, do color blocking, you can do cable, you can do ribbing, do whatever you want to. It's just a square and it doesn't have to be that big. So you can do it quickly. Now this next one can be a bit more time consuming, but it still falls under simple. I'm talking about blanket. Just a garter stitch blanket. You just need to have the time because it's going to be bigger. You're literally just making a very large rectangle. Same as with the scarf, you just are making it bigger. I will say with a blanket, the best tip I can give you is to absolutely use circular needles. It just helps take all the weight of that entire blanket and you won't be switching them back and forth. Circular needles for a blanket. Blankets are fun. They just take a long time to make because they're big. Another great project are pot holders or dish rags. Again, it's small, it's a square, there's no need to make or decrease. Dish rags and pot holders are again a great opportunity to test out new techniques. Since they are a smaller item, you can try things multiple times and improve quickly on a new skill. I think dish rags are a great way to learn new things. The first time I ever cable knit something was a dish rag because I wanted something small that I can complete instead of a huge piece that if I wasn't picking up the skill very well, I wasn't wasting all of my time on a large garment. Accessories are a good way to get started instead of making full-on garments, just because of the time that it takes, and it just takes a long time, and sometimes we aren't as patient as we need to be when we're learning something new. But infinity scarves and cowls are a great thing to make when you're starting to learn knitting in the round. Let that be if you're using circular needles or double pointed needles. Cowls and infinity scarves are great because it's not just a straight scarf. It teaches you how that works differently than just flat knitting. Because knitting in the round and flat knitting are, although extremely similar, they behave slightly different. especially when you start knitting in the round, you realize how easy it is to get your work twisted. So instead of working in a cylinder, it's kind of a twisted cylinder. And something like a cowl is a easy project to get started on because you could really learn how to keep everything in line. I think they're great. I have so many of them because I think they're so fun to knit as well. The most compliments I get on things that I've knit have been like cowls and scarves. And I think it's just because I make them very bold, because I like it a bold accessory, because my normal outfits are quite plain. Another thing I love knitting and love doing as a beginner were scrunchies. Now I have a video that I made around Valentine's Day of me making a scrunchie. Watch it if you'd like. It's linked up above. Scrunchies are cool because you can knit them in a variety of ways. You can knit them flat just by making a rectangle. You can knit them in the round and just seam them together along one end. It's just a simple thing to make again, a stunning accessory. Do you remember in like maybe 2007 or 8 when scrunchies became lame? And then they came back. Same thing with turtlenecks. They're cozy. Why wouldn't you want one? So another great beginner project are headbands. Again, a headband, you just knit a rectangle and then you can seam it together in a different way. Like there's a very trendy headband going around that's a little twisted headband in the front. You completely hide your seams doing that. And they're very cute. So why wouldn't you want to do that? Again, those headbands are a great way to test out different techniques. That's actually, again, when I really got into cable knitting, I did a very elaborate cable knit headband and I love it. It's one of my most used winter accessories. And I recently have been making those twist headbands, the twist front headbands, but in a seed stitch, and they look really cute like that. Yeah, you should make some headbands. They're also great gifts. Like you can finish them in an hour or two. They're great. I really do like them. Now we're gonna get into slightly more complicated projects. Things that are gonna require now a little bit of shaping, but are very simple, but still big results. I like these little crisscross baby booties. They are a quick, small project that requires you just to have flat knitting and piecing them together with very basic skills. You just need to add on stitches. That's it. You basically just knit a T shape and then crisscross and seam them together, and there you go, you have little baby booties. You just have to do it twice because you need to have 2 booties. 1 booty just isn't enough. Triangle shawls are absolutely the best way to learn how to do increases. I'm just saying it. I also think that they are absolutely stunning. Who doesn't love a shawl? We know I'm addicted to shawls, it's fine, and I have to stop making more for myself because I already have 4. Yeah, it's an increase of 1 since the last time I talked about shawls on this channel. But they're great. You can, again, add some color to it, do some stripes along with it. You can do different types of increases to give a different look. I have a shawl that I made that the increases makes a little hole, but the way that the holes line up, it adds to the pattern. Oh, they're just so good. I love triangle shawls because they don't take a long time either. And my final beginner project that I think everyone should be doing are flat knit sweaters. I prefer knitting sweaters in the round. However, flat knit sweaters, you just have to knit things flat and then seam them together to create the whole. You just need to make one sleeve, the other sleeve, which can just be rectangles, and you can do the same thing with the front and the back and just seam them together with no shaping at all, just squares. But then if you could want to make it a little bit more complicated and a little bit more refined, you can start adding shaping, you can start adding like buttonholes for a cardigan. It's just that next project to step up your skills. If you've done all these other projects, you've learned the skills to make a flat knit sweater. And then once you do a flat knit sweater, you can go on to knit something in the round or do a top to bottom, bottom to top, whatever variation of knitting in the round of a sweater that you want to. So that's it. Those are a few beginner-friendly projects that I think you should dabble in. If you go down the list of projects that I've mentioned, you'll begin to gain more experience and more comfort in knitting. To me, knitting is simple. It makes sense to my brain, and I understand that other people, maybe if you got your start in crocheting, it does not compute the same way. But going from just a garter knit scarf, then maybe onto a pillowcase that you have to seam together. There's your new skill, seaming together pieces. Then maybe you go on to the baby booty, which is both seaming and a little bit of an increase. And then you can slowly add all these skills together that you've learned from these new projects and make something that can combine all of them, such as a bigger sweater. I hope this made sense. I hope that you're able to go through and maybe try to find some projects to learn knitting a little bit more. Again, I love knitting. I think it is such a relaxing hobby for me. It keeps my hands busy, it keeps my mind occupied. It helps me flex my creative muscles in a different way than how I would have to in my professional life, which is nice. Again, I will link down examples of these projects in the description from different free Ravelry patterns. I want you to be able to access stuff that I'm able to talk about. That's why I want to just try to find free patterns. That way, no matter what your budget is, you can do it. Okay, good luck knitting. I want you to fall in love with it as much as I am. That's all I gotta say. Okay, bye!